a great day to talk hockey with Grant McCagg on Habscast.
Folks, I don't normally do this, but I had to get myself a beer. Usually wait till after supper, actually after 9, 10 o'clock, but my goodness, Bryce Pickford not invited to the World Junior Camp. But congratulations to Michael Hage. I mean, it was a no-brainer. Guys, top 3 in scoring in college hockey. They weren't not going to invite him this time. So I suppose that's the bright spot. And congratulations to Michael Hage. He fully deserves to be on the roster. I fully expect him to make the team. Might be in a top 6 role. They didn't invite him last year, but couldn't pass on having him on the roster this time around. So, the bright side of things is that he got the invite, but my goodness, no, Bryce Pickford. Like, what more could a man have done to deserve at least an invite? Like, with all due respect to Ethan McKenzie, undrafted. He's a good WHL defenseman, but he's not in Pickford's. He's not in his area code. He's just not. Like, well, nobody's outplaying Pickford this year. He's the best friggin' defenseman in junior hockey this year. He's better than Perek. He's better than Brunick. He's better than all of them. And to not even get an invite is an insult to him. And I am disappointed. There's always going to be players that you're disappointed in not making a squad, a Canadian squad, because Canada's stacked and there's always going to be names left off. But a kid that's on pace for 47 goals, like it's been done once by a defenseman in WHL history. But not only that, captain of his team, second in the league in plus minus. He's very good defensively. He's tough. He got in a fight the other night, backing up his goalie getting tripped up. Like, he's tough as nails. So there's no reason for him not to be picked for that reason. Like, he's mobile. 6 power play points this year. It's just, I don't get it. Puts him, I really don't get it. And I'm disappointed. Very, very disappointed that he didn't make the team. Sorry about that, folks. We had a little malfunction. Is there still a possibility he could get called up? Well, probably not. Probably not. Let's have a look at Ethan McKenzie here, just as a comparison. All right. He's 6'1", so he's not bigger than Pickford. And again, I don't like to necessarily be singling out one guy, but he's the guy that you wonder, like, why, you can understand Verhoff being invited, Brunick, all these guys, they're highly touted, but this player has not been drafted in the NHL. He's, it's nice numbers, 10 goals, 21 assists this year, plus 22. That's decent. But Pickford has twice as many goals. They're the same size. He's, this kid has some physicality, but so does Pickford. This kid's good defensively, but so is Pickford. This kid's an assistant captain on his team. Well, Pickford is captain of Medicine Hat, right? Last year, he joins Medicine Hat like a stacked team, veteran team, stacked. And right off the bat, he gets an A. Like Willie Desjardins, who's one of the most respected coaches in junior hockey, identified right away that this kid's a leader, right? So Ethan McKenzie's a leader. Well, so is Pickford. Like, I don't get it. And, does he lack leadership? No. Poor defense? No. because of his size? No, he's 6'1", same size as Ethan McKenzie and some others. Maybe it's because he struggled in the Memorial Cup? No, he got 2 goals. Is it because he doesn't step up in big games? Bryce Pickford ended last year. The last 8 games of the WHL playoffs, he scored goals. He had an 8-game goal scoring streak, including in the final. He scored in every game. No defenseman's ever done that in WHL history. He ended last year in the semifinals and finals against the toughest teams in the league. He ended. He had 10 goals in the last 8 games of the WHL playoffs. Counting this year so far, between the end of the playoffs last year and the start of this season, in 36 games, he has 30 goals. That's unprecedented for a defenseman. It's absolutely amazing. And his shot, his shot is just incredible. Like, did they not? Was the thinking, well, we don't want we don't want another defenseman that can score goals? Well, you can't have too many of those. As we discovered last year when Schaefer got injured, what was the issue? They didn't have Perek. They didn't have that the guy to back him up. They didn't bring Perek. They didn't have the goal scorer that could replace him. So what if their offense? What if Perek gets hurt this year now, and they don't have they don't have that offensive defenseman to replace him on the power play? I mean, Aitchison obviously is putting up good numbers. I get it, but if Pickford wasn't an all-round defenseman, I would understand. Okay, you don't want too many offensive defensemen, but Pickford's all around. He's a great skater, so it's not that he can't skate or keep up. He's second in plus minus for a reason in the WHL, right? Because he's very solid defensively. I've been scouting him all year. I'm quite impressed with his play away from the puck. He's physical. He brings prototypical size. Like 6'1" will be the at worst the average size for defensemen at the World Juniors. So it is quizzical. I don't get it. I talked to a couple of NHL scouts, and I asked what they thought of McKenzie being picked over Pickford, and one just said, I would go with Pickford. I saw McKenzie a couple of weeks ago. He was fine, but didn't jump out. Well, Pickford jumps out every time you see him. Yeah, I mean, 8 goals in his last 3 games. You decide not to bring a defenseman that, the last week, recency bias, 8 goals in 3 games. There's, oh, no, we don't. Or sorry, 7 in 3 games? No, we don't need that guy. Wow. Another scout. It was kind of funny as I said, Ethan McKenzie invited, but not Pickford. Interesting. He says, who is McKenzie? So, and then he said, I had one good report on him. Solid minor pro projection for me. So, project to be a, an AHLer over a kid that was a top 3 round pick that is he's gone from here to here, right? Like taking one more leap. So anyway, Seneca, not making the team last year. They seem to make these weird decisions sometimes where it's right in front of you. The obvious is right there. Just take the best player. I don't know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for the meetings where they justified not bringing a guy that may well set a friggin' all-time record for goals. He's second in the WHL in goal scoring, a defenseman, but an all-round one, like a solid defenseman. It's just it happens every year, it seems like, right? I know we're all experts here with the cheap seats and all that stuff, but man, oh man, there's not a defenseman in junior hockey that's playing better than Bryce Pickford. So not only should he be invited, it should have just been a no-brainer. A no-brainer. Anyway, enough about that. As I say, congratulations to Michael Hage. He was passed over last year, and it was, it was understandable to a certain degree. Mind you, Beckett Seneca not being picked. Well, look at now, right? The kid's freaking a star already in the NHL, but he wasn't good enough for Canada's World Junior team last year. I don't know. They always have to make a couple of choices. That overthinking it is what I call it, and it's disappointing that oh no, let's go with an undrafted kid that's the same size, that's got half the stats, that doesn't skate any better, maybe a little more competitive, but if he is, it's not much. Pickford is competitive and he's physical. There's not a single reason why Ethan McKenzie should have been invited to that camp instead of Bryce Pickford. There's no reason. Anyway, good luck to Ethan McKenzie. I hope he makes the team. I hope he beats out a couple other guys and proves me wrong and scores the game-winning goal and all that stuff. But time will tell. We will see. Here is Canada's roster. Let's have a look at it. We've got Gavin McKenna, Michael Misa, Porter Martone. Well, pretty tough not to be picking those guys. Here is TSN kind of trying to project who might be playing where, right? Gavin McKenna, no-brainer. Misa, second overall pick. Porter Martone, hey, top 10 pick last year, playing well in college. So, yes, he will. He's going to make the team. Aginla, Luchenko, Hage. That'd be kind of cool if Hage played on the second line. We'll see. I mean, being at the top of the scoring race in college this year, it kind of projects for you to be a top 6 player at the World Juniors, right? But you never know. Cole Reshny, Cole Baudouin, Liam Greentree. Yeah, you can't really argue with any of those. Reshny's been pretty solid in college there as a freshman. Cole Baudouin is lights out this year, playing all round hockey for Barrie, putting up points, but he's a good two-way. He's a good two-way center that he brings his heart and soul. Maybe not the greatest skater, but a good player nonetheless. Liam Greentree, well, he kind of had some disappointments at Hockey Canada in the past, but it's hard to deny. They didn't bring size last year, and I think they kind of, they're kind of, well, maybe we need a little bit more size this time around. Greentree deserves to be invited, and I would suspect he will play this year because I think last year's team lacked size up front, and I don't think they're going to make the same mistake this time around. Denwyer, no-brainer as an invite. I'd even have him higher up in that. I'm not sure why Reshny would be considered to be higher in the lineup than Denwyer. Not for me, at least. Denwyer is a top 9 guy on my World Junior team any day, and the same with Brady Martin. I'd be surprised if he's slotted below Cole Baudouin. It's just a more skilled, better skater, and a heart and soul guy as well. Carter Bear, been a little bit disappointing so far his season in the WHL, but loved him last year. I don't know, with his is he fully recovered from his Achilles injury? I could see him maybe being one of the cuts on this squad. They're going to have to make 2 or 3. They're going to have to make 2 or 3. But Pickford ahead of Perek. I doubt very much I'm wrong on this one, provided the latter's defensive play. Well, I mean, I like Zane Perek, but he's not playing any better offensively than Pickford, and he's not as good defensively. It is a bit. I mean, I would have brought him, but anyway, hey, Mark Hunter's part of the management team too, so obviously, they saw something I didn't, and maybe down the road I will clue into it. But at this point, at least, perhaps it's my Habs bias, but I think Pickford's more than deserved to be at least an invite to this team. Jake O'Brien, hey, another top 10 pick. It shows you the depth of Canada when they're slotting in top 10 guys on the 4th and 5th lines of potentially on the team. That just goes to show you how much depth, as usual, Canada has, right? Braden Coots, Sam O'Reilly. Yeah, I like both those players too quite a bit. But if you were to ask me which guys are most likely to get cut from this team, I'd say Reshny, Bear, Coots, and O'Reilly are probably the most likely. But you could see O'Brien, them thinking, oh, he's going to need another year. But I see Desnoyers, Martin, Baudouin, Greentree, Hage, Luchenko, Iginla, McKenna, Misa, Martone. I would suspect they'll all make the team. Yet there's always a surprise cut or two, right? Just as there was a surprise snub as far as picking a player or two. Aitchison, Perek. Yeah, well, they decided that those were the 2 offensive guys that they prefer. I mean, Aitchison's rugged, and he has 19 goals. He plays a pretty decent 2-way game. I would have invited him. Cameron Reid and Brunicky, like them both. They're both solid defensemen. Are they playing better than Bryce Pickford right now? No, but Brunicky would be a returnee, and that's no shock. Little surprised that Kurls and Verhoff, again, they don't normally take underage guys, and it's usually just one if they do, but they invited 2 this year, which is interesting. Mind you, I love both, and they could very well be top 5 picks in the draft, so not going to argue it. Ben Danford, he got the other omission from the Canadian squad obviously is Owen Protz, right? But I expected, hey, Toronto Maple Leafs first round pick, they're not going to pass him over, right? It may have came down to Danford or Protz as a defensive defenseman that was going to be invited, and in this case, they of course went with the Toronto Maple Leafs first round pick. Whatever. I mean, Danford's a solid defenseman. He probably wins a spot. Jackson Smith, it's funny. They pick guys that, again, if they think that maybe Pickford's a little too offensive and makes mistakes, which I don't see very often, you could certainly say the same thing about Jackson Smith, and then Ethan McKenzie, Carson Carrolls. I suspect that McKenzie and Carrolls will be the cuts, but we'll see. Cameron Reid, pretty solid. I really like Cameron Reid. He's a good defenseman. I think he'll probably make the team, but if you were to ask me which guys would be cut, I think McKenzie and either Verhoff or Carrolls, perhaps Jackson Smith. I see the other guys making the team. In goal, Carter George, Jack Ivankovic, who has been lights out. I watched him get a shutout for Michigan the other night against MSU. Carter George, hey, he has a great resume, right? And both of them have played great for Canada in the past. And Ravensburgen, I think it's Ravensburgen, highly touted for a lot of years. That's a pretty solid trio they have back in net. So, hey, that's a stacked squad, right? Especially up front. I mean, come on. If there might be guys that were top 10 picks that are cuts. That bodes well. And it's not as small a squad as they had last year. I think this is a lot better looking team than last year. There's a lot better potential, I think. That they've got more size. They got the size skill combination is very impressive with this group. So I think they have to be one of the favorites for sure. I think the U.S. and Canada are probably favored again. You know, hopefully Canada this year makes it to the final. I mean, time will tell, but that's a deep team. Like you look at you look at that squad, then you look at the U.S. They have they've got some very good prospects, but how many top 10 guys are there, right? They've got Higgins, and that's it, right? One top 10 NHL draft pick. Mind you, that doesn't mean a hell of a lot, but one top 10 draft pick versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up front. One on defense, so at least 7, and I mean 2 top 10 picks to come in Carroll's and or 3, at least with McKenna, Carroll's, and Verhoff. So a lot of pedigree there, that's for sure. They're making sure that they don't get criticized for not bringing top 10 picks this time around. I mean, justifiably, it made no sense whatsoever to not invite the 6'4" kid that lights out in the playoffs a year before for Oshawa. And that's the part that gets, like, do they not? Like, Bryce Pickford did unprecedented things in the playoffs last year and led Medicine Hat to a Memorial Cup and was great in the Memorial Cup. Beckett Seneca was the best player in the OHL playoffs last year. Does this not, is that not considered when you're picking a team that you want to play in tough, important games? The best 2 players, arguably, in the CHL playoffs last year, or sorry, 2 years ago, Seneca, and this past year, Pickford, and they pass on Seneca last year, and this year they pass on Pickford. So it's interesting that you wonder what was the reasoning behind Pickford not being selected. I'd love to know, because he checks off every box as far as I'm concerned. So I'm disappointed, obviously, that a kid that's doing, like, might set records this year, who is only getting better, like, going into the selection process. Like, I don't know if they named the squad 2 weeks ago and now it didn't matter what Pickford did. Obviously, it didn't matter what he did in the past week because he scored 7 goals. But anyway, mixed feelings on the selection process as usual. There's always guys that, but you know what? When they drop the puck, December 26th, my favorite tournament of the year. I'll be all in for Canada and hope that they play well. Certainly, if they pick the guys you expect them to pick out of this group, hey, they're going to be really solid this year and have to be tournament favorites going in. I'm very interested in seeing Gavin McKenna. You know, there's some talk, I don't know if he's first overall. I have a feeling by the end of the World Junior Tournament, that talk will be gone. McKenna, I expect McKenna to shine, just as he did for the U18 team when he was 16 years old and had 10 goals and 10 assists and was just lights out as a half underager. Well, I suspect that we'll see Gavin McKenna's coming out party at the World Juniors this year. Sorry about the delay there. I guess I put 12:30. A lot of people, I guess you get notifications, right, to come on, and I realized that some of you don't get alerted through X or whatever, and I guess I had put 12:30 as a starting time, but I did say on social media 1:00, but I started it a couple of minutes early because I noticed that there were people in the live chat here. Yeah, as Andre says, is there a chance that he could still be called? Well, if there's an injury, I guess, I suppose, but not not likely. Sheldon Hughes, politics as usual. I guess there was some politics involved. I don't certainly, the GM Alan Miller, it's not like he's part of the Edmonton Oil Kings or something, and that's why they chose Ethan McKenzie over him. And again, I'm signaling out Ethan McKenzie, but just if there's one obvious player invite out of that group that you'd say, why is he invited and not the third round pick that's second in the WHL in goal scoring, it would be Ethan McKenzie. But yeah, this is exactly why we cannot win regularly in the competition. Team Canada never shows up with its best team because of freaking incompetence. Well, I mean, that team's pretty good, right? I don't know that this year, not having one guy on that you could argue should be on will be the difference. It's not like last year when it was just there were 4 or 5 guys that you wondered why aren't they there, and I mean really obvious ones. Third overall pick versus Pickford, who was a third round pick, right? I mean, they're not in the same category necessarily, although given the way Pickford's playing, I would argue, he's as dominant as Seneca was last year when he was left off the team. But it's, so like if you look at we'll just go back to like Aitchison, Perek, Reed, Brunicky, Verhoff, Danford, if that's your 6, it's definitely a better group than they had last year. And I mean, up front too, there's no comparison. This group is stacked, and Canada will be favored, and with good reason. It's just, you wonder how a kid playing as well as Bryce Pickford can at least be an invite, like why not take 10 if at least have a look at him and let him prove why he shouldn't be an invite there, because he certainly deserved it. Is it the same leadership group? Well, I think Alan Miller is full-time or whatever. And again, there aren't a lot of omissions there. Really? You know, when you're talking about just one that you can make a big argument for, typically for Canada, that's pretty good. It's not, um, you know, that 99 or 97% is pretty good. Some years it's about 70%. So I think that they righted some of the wrongs from last year. They didn't pick small guys. Um, they went with some size skill. They went all of the high picks are there this time around. So they've righted some wrongs from last year. It's just Pickford that you don't understand from a Habs fan viewpoint at least. Owen Protz, uh, he's had a solid year, and he would have fit as a defensive shutdown defenseman on the team, perhaps. But Danford's the more, you know, the higher drafted player, the more highly touted, plays on the same team, interestingly. But I'm not surprised. Like Protz was like the seventh guy in the summer, and some guys have stepped up. The young guys, Carroll's and Verhoff, are very good, and so I'm not shocked that they didn't leave Protz off, but he was another guy that was definitely in the running, but didn't get the invite. Is there a junior player in Canada playing better than Pickford right now? No, I don't think so. Yeah, let alone defenseman, but no, there isn't. No. How many WHL defensemen were taken? Let's have a look here. Carroll's, McKenzie, Brunick, that would be it. Obviously, Verhoff and Smith came through the WHL system, but they're in college now. Too much politics in Canada. Yeah, I don't know if it's politics this time around. It's just an odd omission is the way I would put it. But they're always going to be. Robin Ronan, yeah, WHC Canada Selection Committee always got a galaxy brain things. Just bring the best players playing at the time. It's not hard. I don't know. Somebody on the staff loves Ethan McKenzie, and okay, he's a good junior defenseman, but you can't argue that he's playing better than Bryce Pickford. You just can't. Bear and Joey, I feel bad for Pickford. I take solace in the fact that you, Grant, have aided him as worthy of making the team. Oh, that's well put. This is a new Bear and Joey. This is a new name. I hope he uses his snub as further motivation. I'm excited for his future. Yeah, there you go. Do you think Seneca used it as motivation last year? That's a heck of a line Seneca plays on. True, but he's a heck of a player too. I find it really hard to keep my interest way up when every year Canada seems unable to do basic scouting, which we can do in our living room. Yeah, well, again, I'm overreacting to Pickford. And of course, it's a Habs prospect, so there's extra passion there. But in high, like, put it this way, I'm glad that Hage they didn't leave Hage off this time around. But look at that team. I mean, they got it right in every instance, I think, but one. So, has there ever been a Canadian squad that I agreed with every selection? No. So, but that's testament to the depth in Canada as well, right? You have to take that into account. So I'm not going to be um, highly critical of the selections because to me there's only one omission, really. Uh, and I highly respect Mark Hunter, certainly. I don't know Alan Miller, but I do know he has been involved the last few years. Uh, you know, last year I didn't like his selections. This year, it's better. You can't. You have to say that you know some of the rights or some of the wrongs have been righted with this group. I think. Considering Hage is performing better than McKenzie and Martone in NCAA, is it possible he might be on the first line? Oh yeah, it's possible, but McKenna, like, you got to look at the teams they're on too and stuff, right? Um, yeah, it's anything's possible, but uh, you know, he might even be third line, anywhere from first line to third line. I think for Hage, there's a lot of talent there, right? So, but I think he makes the team. That at least that there's that, right? Pickford ahead of Parak. Yeah, right now he's outplaying him. Considering Hage is performing better than it's okay. Aitchison's simply not first pairing material. Well, I mean they're slotting in guys there, right? Honestly, if you first pairing, I'd probably have Pickford on there, but he's not even an invite. But yeah, I don't see necessarily for standout first pairing guys any, really. But Aitchison's pretty solid, and he's got some grit. He can skate. I mean, he's got 19 goals this year. It's a stacked squad, but is the best squad we can ice. Well, what do you got there? 15, 24, 27. 27 out of 28. I'm not gonna go nuts over getting 27 right out of 28. Right. Yeah, Dickinson wasn't let go by the Sharks. Mike Greer, US. I guess no, I'm not that surprised that he wasn't let go by the Sharks. I think they want him developing in the minors. It's fine. There's still maybe they can get him, talk them into getting them yet, but no, I'm not that surprised. There's usually a couple of guys, and it's usually an American GM. Maybe some politics there. Anybody who wants Canada to win is disappointed at this stage, but year in, year out, it stays the same. All right, guys, I know we're disappointed here, but Carter George is not having an impressive season stats-wise. Right, but Carter George has always stepped up on the big stage, and that's why he got invited. It's tough. It's tough not to invite Carter George based on past. Leanders is way ahead of him in the O. Well, and the stats is you can't just judge goalies based on stats there as well, right? Especially just the basic GAA and save percentage. It doesn't really, tell the whole story, right? And as I say, Carter George has been there, done that. He's a winner, steps up, has been a winner for Hockey Canada. I invite Carter George. I don't disagree with that. Cornway has not played enough, I guess, but so far he's got And again, we're talking numbers, small sample size. You know, it's not just based on what you've done this year. And that's one of the reasons why I also think Pickford, you know, certainly over the last 2 years, he's been better than Ethan McKenzie. Not just this year, right? Just in general, counting the last 2 years. So again, it can't be just because it's, flash in the pan for Bryce Pickford. Team Canada's probably never heard of Cornway. Yeah. Oh yeah, they've heard of Ivan Cornway. They scored that famous goal, game tying goal in '72. Last year was so bad. Team Canada fired everybody. I don't know. Miller's been part of it for years. He didn't go anywhere, I don't think. Well, at least they've heard of Ivan, right? Proch, you can argue either way. Pickford, sorry, but Hottie isn't there. You can't ignore him. Don't disagree. Protz is only a good open ice hitter. I can't see him making it to the NHL. Well, his skating still has to come some, and that's why, that's why he probably wasn't a pick at the end of the day. It's a pretty fast tournament, right? Yeah. Well, inviting McKenzie, is not that hard. Well, last year it was hard. They didn't take Perek. They didn't take Seneca. Like, it was hard last year. So, give them their due. They took the right guys this time. All except Pickford. So 1 out of 28, as I say. You can lose your shit over it, but it's one guy out of 28. If you think that that's going to be the difference between winning and losing, well, we'll have to disagree on that. Why Misa and not Dickinson? I don't know. You'd have to ask Sharks GM on that front. Vanacker and Carbonneau. Well, again, this is such a stock group, right? Vanacker's not a great skater, so there's other players that I'm not going to argue a guy like. Do you not invite top 20 players and invite Vanacker instead? Not for me. They didn't make a mistake in the forward group as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to argue it. Carbonneau, well, maybe next year. There's holes in Carbonneau's game, right? Not always the best guy away from the puck. Not always. Vanacker skating, Carbonneau's all-around play would be why they're not in this group, right? And again, Jake O'Brien, you've got him on the 5th line on this, and he's a top 10 pick. So, are you not going to invite Jake O'Brien and invite Vanacker instead? Probably not. But again, Canada. Anytime Canada names a team, there are going to be guys that there's going to be first round guys. There's going to be very good players that don't get the invite. That's for sure. All in all, though, hey, very, very a very promising group of forwards. Defense is where you have maybe a little bit of concern, but certainly if Carls and Verhoff make it, they're really talented players, boy. Jackson Smith has all kinds of skill as well. Cameron Reed, he's a gamer. Same with Aitchison. He's a good defenseman. Perek, well, we know how special he can be offensively. Danford's a kind of an all-round guy, so it's not a bad group of defensemen. They're just missing obvious guy, right? And I would be curious to know why, what the reasoning is behind Pickford, because he can skate, he can hit, he can shoot, he can pass, and I mean he can shoot. He's got the best shot of any defenseman I've ever scouted in 20 years of doing this. They could have used that. They could have used that in the lineup, but anyway, we'll see if it comes back to bite them. Maybe it does. I do know that it's unfortunate for the kid, and it's unfortunate for Has fans who were probably looking forward to seeing him. Mind you, before this recent, 7 goals in 3 game heater he's been on, there were people that, well, I even did a show last week and said, oh, he's probably not going to be invited, but certainly deserved to be on the team, and it's disappointing, but anyway, as I say, on December 26th, when the puck drops, I'll put my disappointment behind and be rooting for Canada to pick up yet another World Junior gold medal. Has anyone seen the Finnish roster or the Swedish roster? I know Bill Meltzer, and I will check here. Bill Meltzer mentioned something, 2 Flyers prospects, one that was going to be on Finland and one was going to be on Sweden, but I had not seen rosters announced for either of them. So if someone, I asked Bill, did they release rosters, and he didn't get back to me. So if someone has rosters for those teams, please let me know, and maybe even post it or tell me where I can find it. Were you in charge? Would you have extended an invite to Cole Hudson just to mess with Bill Guavin and Team USA? What, you mean Canada for the World Juniors, you mean? Well, he's not eligible, right? He's not eligible to play for Canada. And that was the thing about and I by the way, I noticed you must have seen the Rob Hudson interview, obviously, and you caught him saying Bill Guavin, right? It was that was an interesting interview. Rob's a very passionate man, and they're very competitive. They're a very competitive family, and what a great opening. I think it was my second Habs cast, and it kind of went viral. Although it could have went more viral if what was the name of the Bar Down or whoever it was that retweeted a thing, but then didn't put a link to the video, which I don't know why they can get away with that, but they do. They got like 400,000 views, and my video, my podcast got like 7,000. So anyway, that's the way it is when you're not a big wig like they are, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, Pierre, you're a passionate man. Okay, folks, I'm not getting any more comments from people or questions. Quickly, if you got one, ask it now. I clearly made a mistake cracking a beer at 1:30. I'm just not I'm not an afternoon drinker anymore. Unless I go to a pub around 3. That's not true. I do go to the pub in the afternoon sometimes. Okay. Well, I'm all out of opinions on this. We had 468 people check in. Nobody has found the yeah, I don't know why Bill was saying, well, this guy's on Finland and this guy's on Sweden, and I looked. That was one of the reasons why I was a little late. I was looking for their rosters. Okay, Michael Lemieux, what's going on? Wait for what? Sativa, eh? Yeah. The old wake and bake. Pickford also has chemistry with Gavin McKenna. That's true. Going back to last year, right? Is I just thought of. I just got to look this up. There might be one interesting omission here. Yeah. No Caden Lindstrom, right? I don't know. Does Alan Miller have a beef with Medicine Hat or something? Yeah. So can I show this video? What video are you talking about, Michael? How does Pickford score his goals? Mechanics, picking his shots, but everything. Yeah. Well, he's got the best shot in junior hockey and the best shot I've ever seen of a defense prospect in 20 years. Fantastic release, great velocity, and accurate. Just so accurate. Like, I like Parek's shot a lot. He's got an even better shot. It's just terrific. But he also scores goals rushing the puck, deking players out, like all sorts of different ways. He scores goals. He's got it all when it comes to goal scoring. Just all sorts of like he can deke, he can rush the puck. He has a great wrist shot, so it's not just like slap shots. He's got a great one-timer. There's a lot of different ways that Pickford can score goals. Comparing upside there with this kid, like legitimately second pairing, but obviously. No, I can't find the. I can't seem to find the video of him that I had of him scoring goals. Unfortunately, league. He's so. Or I showed them again, but just look at my video from the Pickford video from a couple of weeks ago, and or last week, and you'll see the goals that he scored. He scored some beauties in the last week, like top notch. And I don't seem to be able to find just those. Unless this is it. Yeah, this is it, probably. Let's just play. So he can score. He can score on the dekes. Check this out. So it's not just shots from the point. Here's his one-timer. Kaboom. Like, check out this shot. Tell me Team Canada couldn't have used that. So there is a variety there. Yeah. Dobson, Reinbacher, Pickford on the right side. Yeah, Eric, check out the video. It was just last week. It was superb. We have a long list of players we can move. Angstrom for one, I would hope move away ahead of Pickford. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not trading Bryce Pickford. Get rid of a. There are other guys that I would choose. I think the Canadians may have gotten themselves a real steal, just like Fowler, another third round steal for this team, and it's very exciting for the club. And as you know, I said, maybe he can use it as motivation. Maybe he'll come out and score 10 goals in his next 3 games. I don't know how he could be any more motivated than he already is or play better, you know. He doesn't need to be motivated, but probably won't hurt, right? If they play Regina, I guess that's where Alan Miller was the GM before. They play Regina in the playoffs. Look out. He might score 12 in a series. But I'm pretty sure he set a WHL finals record last year. I mean, scored in every game, and I think he had 7 in 6 games or something like that. That's just crazy in the finals, right? I mean, just shows that he's steps up in the big games. So leadership, mobility, good size, physical edge to his game, great defensive stats, second best plus minus in the league. So there's not an issue with his defense. Best shot in the, in junior hockey, I think. Leadership, he's captain of his team. He was named an assistant captain the minute he got traded to, of a Medicine Hat team that went to the Memorial Cup last year. He was an assistant captain. So they coveted they saw it in training camp that year. So, wow, this kid's a leader, right? Team Canada couldn't use that this year. Anyway, we'll see if it comes back to bite them. Pierre thinks so. Maybe. I hope not, but Hudson, Fowler, Cappy, Pickford, Engstrom, Florian, few more. Yeah, I'd say the Habs have been killing it outside the. But geez, how does Columbus feel right now? They pick Lindstrom ahead of Demidov, and they he's not off to a great start in college. He doesn't get picked for the World Junior team. Hey, he was a full year off with the back injury. It's going to take him. He's a long-term project, right? Don't give up on Caden Lindstrom, but it's still there have to be some reservations right now about that pick in Columbus. Time will tell, though, on Caden Lindstrom. I'm just going to quickly. Yes. Like, I don't think a team has drafted outside of the top 60 better than Montreal in the past. Papanicus, Pickford, Mooney, Cornoyer, Lane Hudson, Sawyer, Protz, Thorpe, Fowler, Jackeye, Erickson, Kapanen, Vinny Rohr, Adam Engstrom, all picked outside of the top 60 in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drafts. Is there another team in the NHL that can boast that kind of I don't think so. It's they're drafting from 60 on has been absolutely sensational the last 5 years. And what's the one constant with that? Marty Lapointe. Marty and Serge Boisvert and Donald Odette, couple of the European scouts. There've been some constants, so it's not like they completely overhauled the scouting staff, but you know, they've got a solid scouting staff in place. Bob Robb has gotten better as a scout, and I'm sure Marty has rubbed off on him too. I think they make a good yin yang there pairing. The book, the librarian, and the old school eye test scout, right? Makes a good makes a good combo. Any moves you can see the Habs making before Christmas? Johnny Golan. Okay, guys, I'll go a little longer here, but any moves you can see the Habs making before Christmas? Yeah, well, Stamkos. Maybe call up Fowler if Monty keeps. I'd go for Stamkos. I don't know if they do it or not, but that would be my move. Yeah, come on, Derek. You make comments every now and then. No, he's not ruining anybody's drafts. I can go over any Habs drafts, and I've done draft studies, and Trevor Timmins was an above average scout, and so don't just easy on the rhetoric there, if you don't mind. He didn't have a lot to do with Lindstrom being picked either, by the way. Okay, Michael, what do you just go to my Habs cast? Just go to the general thing and you'll find it's under live, probably live. Like I have different it's on the just go through my podcasts. It was last week. You'll find the video. It's not that hard, my friend. Bryce Pickford. It's right there. Yeah, well, and not just the last few years, right? He picked a Norris Trophy winner. He picked a Hart Trophy winner. He picked a Vezina winner. He, a perennial 30-goal scorer. He picked a lot of good players through the years, between. And then there was the period where they didn't pick any. They had one pick in the top 20 over I don't know how many year span in a lot of crappy drafts, but people still, and the French media had a lot to do with it because they cherry picked everything, Oh, we know none of these picks. Well, you just every team in the league that picked after 20 in those weak drafts didn't have great picks. 1 out of 10 maybe was good, and he'd have taken Pasternak if Boston didn't take him at 25. Montreal was taking him at 26. That's not on. Look at the rest of the players that were available after that, and then the McCarron draft again. As time has shown, it was one of the best picks after 18, between 18 and Lehkonen. Lehkonen was maybe the best pick of the second round. They got him. McCarron from 18 to 55, one of the 4 best picks as time has turned out. Noah Juleson, hey, if he doesn't fracture, that's not on Trevor Timmins that Noah Juleson, his career almost ended because he got a slap shot in the mouth. Anyway, he gets a lot of he got a lot of undue criticism, and he's also a friend too. So, Derek, I'd appreciate it if you do it on message boards and do it on Twitter, but not on my podcast if you don't mind. Don't be rude about my friend Trevor Timmins, if that's okay. Thank you. Monty is sick. Will he be out for a while? Any chance we see Fowler sooner than expected? I hope so. They might call him up. That was one of the interesting moves there today, right? They called up a goalie from the AHL or from the ECHL, Trois-Rivières. So Hunter Jones. I just replied, does that mean Fowler gets the call up now? I mean, they called up Kakkonen because Fowler played Friday night and then he played 47 minutes on Saturday. So they weren't calling up Fowler. I understood that, but now do they exchange Kakkonen for Fowler, right? Well, with Jones being called up, it tells me that Monty's going to be out for a little while. This sickness is going to go beyond one game. I wouldn't be surprised if you see over the next 2 days Fowler called up and Kakkonen sent down. And does he get a game in? Maybe. I wouldn't mind giving him a look. I really wouldn't. Yeah, okay, Derek. Yeah. Just a comment. Yeah. Oh, fucking ruined it. Yeah. You're banned. Bye. A drunk has been. Okay, Derek. Unlike you, who is, top of the line, you've got a great resume. And, I'm having a beer at lunch, so that makes me a drunk. Okay, Derek. Bye. Oh, there's a lot of assholes in the world, eh? Too many. Oh well, you weed them out slowly but surely. Do you see Blais as an upgrade to anyone currently on the big club? I don't know. I think Davidson kind of he deserves more shots here now. Just a sec, I gotta block Derek Rendell on Twitter here. Bye-bye, Derek. You make comments like that, no place in my life, sir. We'll have to see if he's on Blue Sky too. He's gonzo. He doesn't need to see my opinions anymore. French media did not press Bergevin hard enough and criticized Timmins too much. Easy thing to do, of course. Yeah. I agree completely with that statement. But it wasn't just the French media too. It was English media in Quebec was pretty and right on. Noah Juleson is still playing. How excited would this forum and most fans be if we got to see Fowler? Well, that's the other thing too. I really think it would give the team a boost, and the fans would be nuts. Imagine the first big save. Just like how they reacted Sla's first goal. Demidov's first assist and first goal, they went crazy. Even KK back when Ryan Paling's first goal, right? The fans they love it, right? I mean, there's always hope for the future with these guys. And it just sorry, I'm a little like somebody called me a has-been. At least I've been, right? Anyway. I hope Monty's sickness won't spread to the rest of the team. This season's flu for sure killed me. I haven't got it yet. Knock on wood. Hopefully it doesn't hopefully I don't get it. But yeah, Pierre, it's just I really think they should call up Fowler and give him a look. Here's the chance. Here's the chance to do it without ruffling Monty's feathers or hurting his confidence because he's out. I think they have to do it. I'd even start him. I'd even start him the next game. But I mean, Dobie had the big game against Tampa last year when he first came up. And they'll probably hope that he can do the same, right? Curious to know what is your take on Jared Davidson since he's in the NHL. Hey Samuel, thanks for the question. Yeah, well, he's I think he's played okay, really. I haven't minded how he's looked at all. He's got good he's got good work habits. He's been decent defensively. He's been hard on the forecheck, playing physical. I think he brings some elements to the bottom six that they've needed. I wouldn't mind Sammy Blais either, being called up and playing. It's his skating speed, I think, that is maybe holding them back from calling them up and playing them. But yeah, I would say that he, it's hard when you're only playing 5 to 10 minutes a night. He's not on the top line or anything like that, Joe Veleno's not going to Joe Veleno's not going to make anybody into a superstar out there offensively. So yeah, I would say that on a whole, David's has been okay. It's an adjustment period too, right? I mean, the kid came from being undrafted in his first year eligibility to hardly playing in the AHL his first year to where he is now. And it took him a while to adjust to the pace of the AHL because he's not the fastest skater in the world. And it's the same thing at the NHL level. He's not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy. So he's got to adjust. And I think he's done a decent job. The past 2 games, he's only looked better. And maybe he gets a little more trust from Marty and hopefully he gets a little more ice time. I'd even, what I'd do? I'd give him a look with Anderson and Evans and put Galley back down on the fourth line maybe for a game and give him a little better look and see how he looks, right? Why not? We deserve to see Fowler even for 1 game, and who knows what happens next. Hugo might be worried about having Fowler killing it. The controversy which could follow. Yeah. That's a good point, Pierre. Frankly Mahovlich. Hey, there's a new name. Frankly Mahovlich. I like that. Don't take the comments from one a-hole personally. Well, I do take it personally, but I appreciate you. The rest of us value your opinions more than forget about it. I'll get over it. Just it's disturbing to see, because I have a beer. It's become my prop, right? I have a beer so that makes me a drunk. Yeah, whatever. I know better, right? I'll drink to that. I have not drank 6 beer in a day and I don't know how many years, but oh well. People are allowed to people are allowed to be to make assumptions that they're allowed to do whatever they want, but I'm also allowed to ban them for good. And Well, he isn't seeing my tweets anymore on X either. Good for him. There's a lot of examples of young goalies coming in and doing a great job. Baller could do the same. Yeah, I agree with that. I think he needs to be brought up and given a look. Now's the chance. I'm an old Nordiques fan, and Hage reminds me of young Joe Sakic. Woo. Z Blip. Yeah. uh, yeah, he does a little bit, I guess. He's no Joe Sakic though. I'd be, he's not going to be a top 10 all-time NHL point scorer. I like Michael Hage though. He's a good player. Thank you, Johnny Golden. I appreciate you guys coming on too. Dryden and Roy turned out pretty good as an example. Yeah, that's true. Sam, which current NHL player would you picture Zborowski could become if he hits the ceiling? If he hits the ceiling, yeah. Well, I don't have a comparable for him. I'm not very good at that right off the bat too. When I ask for a comparison like off the cuff like that, I don't like to do it even when I've studied it, let alone, just a name pop into my head. Typically people think, well, I've got to compare him to a Russian of some sort. It seems to be the way when you make these comparisons, I don't know. He's kind of different. He's kind of a different cat, really. Who I have mentioned is a kind of a cross between Luca Del Bel Belouz, but a notch above Del Bel, and Beckett Seneca, but a notch below Beckett Seneca. So if you combine Luca Del Bel Belouz and Beckett Seneca, that's where I would slot in Zborowski, somewhere in the middle there. A little better skater than Del Bel, not as big and maybe as quite as smart as Beckett Seneca, but kind of a hybrid of those two players. That's probably the best I can come up with on short notice. Pierre, the beer is your trademark, Grant. Nobody does it anymore. It needs to be broken, so please drink away, buddy. Yeah, I know, eh? Like, I have a beer during my podcast, and I mean the first time I've had one that's not at 10 o'clock at night. I don't even have a beer during the hockey games. I crack one. It's my shtick. I decided, what the heck? Nobody else does it. You're right. And it's supposed to, because people like Derek Rendell will be judgmental. I'll give Derek this. At least he used his real name, and it was easy for me to block him on Twitter. So thanks to him for not hiding behind a username like a lot of people that get rude on social media do. So thank you, Derek, for letting me find you on X and blocking you. Just watching Pickford's clips really impressed me. He's got a pinpoint laser and he can shoot with pressure on him. Very translatable. Well, that's the thing. His shot's going to beat any goalie. So he'll score goals in the NHL. So he's going to have a place. His skating's good enough. He's got enough size. He competes hard enough. He's physical. He's going to play in the NHL. So anytime you can find a defenseman in the third round that can play in the NHL, I also think that he's going to play. He's going to play on the power play, and he's going to score goals in the NHL. So, lots to like there, for sure. Pierre Gingras. I like Hage more than anybody, but Sakic is a bit much. Yeah, I'd slow down the hype train a little bit. on that. But then he turns around and compares Zurowski to Kovalev. Kovalev had about 40 pounds on Zurowski, so I wouldn't say a better version of Kovalev. I'd say a skinnier version of Kovalev. I mean, Kovalev didn't have the best work ethic, so that's not a very high bar. But Kovalev was a power forward, and Zurowski's not going to be that. So similar in that they're Russian and they both can really stick handle, but I don't necessarily like that as a comp because he'll never be as big and like as thick and strong as Kovalev. Kovalev played a skill power game. That's not going to be Zurowski, I don't think. Skill and puck protection because of his length and size, but Kovalev could power right through you. You know, he was kind of like the Russian Gilbert Perreault in that regard. Hughes drafted 39 players, not including picks he traded. Rebuild mode increases the odds of acquiring gems, which they have done. A built team can't do that. Enjoying the rebuild in progress. Hey, Starledge, thanks for. I always like seeing new usernames on here, and just like I liked Frankly Mahavlich tuning in and saying something. You got a question there, Frankly? Because frankly, I'd like to see it. Match at Hudson's elusiveness and vision with paired with Pickford's shot. Yeah. Well, like I even threw it out there that down the road he might even I mean it's a bold statement, but he might even replace Hudson on the first power play at some point with that shot. It's such a weapon. But the other possibility is that they play together on the power play. Maybe they even play together as a defense pairing at times too. You need a goal late in the game, get Hudson on the left, Pickford on the right. Hudson feeding him some pucks. It might be fun to see. Yeah, I could see them. I wouldn't mind seeing them playing together at times in the NHL down the road. That's a good point. How much bigger do you think? Oh, I don't know. I'm not. It depends how much borscht he has there. I mean, he's not naturally big, so he's never going to be a big, thick kid. I don't think. I don't know. I'd say maybe he adds another 15, 20 pounds. Johnny Gold and Monty is listed day to day. Hey, there's $2 from Derek Rendell. Oh no, from Francois Bedard. Thanks, Francois. Thanks for the toonie. Pays for my beer. Tastes extra good for some reason. Hey, there's VDAC. Should bring in Sherwood from Vancouver. Anderson can't be the only hitter on bottom 9. Davidson brings energy. Valeno putting up a fight, but Sherwood veteran that hits everything in sight and scores. I think I mean, when I listed possible potential players that the Habs could pick up, he was one of the guys I mentioned. You could go back, folks, if you want another episode that I'll plug that I did a couple of weeks ago, where it was, Stamkos. I went through the teams that look like they're out of the playoff race, and Sherwood was one of the players. By the way, I put up Michael Whelan had asked I do a video on chronic, and I put it up on Patreon today. So anybody that's a member of my Patreon page, you can see that. Obviously, you already know that if you're a Patreon because you get an automatic email. But if you're a member, a member of my YouTube channel here, just email me at grant@habscast.ca, and I will get you hooked up with a subscription, a free subscription to my Patreon page. So you'll be able to not only do you become a VIP member here, but you also get access to these videos that are only on my Patreon page. Whenever I profile NHL players, they get restricted on YouTube, so I put them on my Patreon page. I did it with my Stamkos and O'Reilly videos. I did it with the Hronek video, and I put in my 2 cents on whether I think Hronek can play, or should the Canadians target Hronek perhaps. I show a video of a game, scout him, and give my opinion on whether they should pursue him. But Sherwood, yeah, I'm a little careful with him, like being 30 years old and having his career year, right? He's never, up until 30 years of age, he's never been a big point getter. He's getting top 6 minutes in Vancouver because they're shitty. So there's that too. He's not going to score as much in Montreal, if he came here, because he not likely to be top 6. I mean, right now he'd have to beat out Texier, and I suppose maybe he would be, but when the injuries come back, like Doc's ahead of him in the pecking order, I'd say. On a better team, he's not going to get the offensive opportunities getting right now in Vancouver, so his stats won't be as good. But do they seek, he's on pace for what, 35 goals or something like that? Well, do they say, well, hey, this guy's going to be a 35 goal scorer. We need a first rounder and a prospect or whatever. No, you don't give that up for a guy having a career year at 30 years of age. I mean, if the price is right, sure, go after Sherwood. Sherwood. But I have a feeling that the price is going to be abnormally high because of him having a career year this year. And at 30 years of age too, you got to be careful with that, I think. But he hits lots. He's not overly big again. I mean, Jared Davidson is that type of player too. But, getting hit 4 times by a 6-foot guy, or getting hit once or twice by a Josh Anderson, if you're a defenseman, you'll take the 4 hits from the 6-foot guy, if you know what I mean, over two from the power horse. So is that really what they need, is a 6-foot guy that hits? Or, if they're going to go for that type of player in the bottom 6, maybe they need bigger guy, right? But you can make the argument 2 ways. I'm also a little bit weary about it, VDAC, because I don't like what he said to Slav. That comment. He was kind of like a guy that was on here a little earlier, bit of an a-hole for what he said to Slav. And I don't know necessarily that the players would welcome him with open arms for being, being an asshole. So I don't know. Wouldn't be my first choice to go after, but I get, I understand your logic in And I don't disagree that they could use more sandpaper in the bottom nine. Frankly, as a scout, do you ever actually target a prototypical fourth line center, or do they just fall there if they can't play higher in the lineup? You mean in the draft? As an amateur scout, I guess. Well, I mean, what you try to do is you try to project where you think player will fit in your lineup down the road. Like when you're making your draft list, um, you know, you say, well, he's got bottom two center upside, and you rank them accordingly, right? Uh, I mean, it can depend a little bit on your team's needs once you get past the first 50 players or whatever. Um, but if you think a guy stands a good chance, you combine his floor with his ceiling, right? If you think, okay, well, this guy probably will only be a fourth line center in the NHL, but the odds of him making the NHL are very high, and at worst, he'll be a fourth line winger, but still play a fourth line role. That, anywhere from 50 to 90 might be where you slot him, depending on your team needs too. If you're in need of skill and you're missing young skill, and you probably keep drafting players with top nine upside up until like the fourth, fifth round. But if you have a fair number of top nine forwards, both on the team and in the system, and you come across a guy and say, well, okay, he brings elements that we could use. He's big, he's physical. Yeah, he doesn't have a pile of offensive upside, but he skates well enough. We think he can he can find an NHL role, and his hit factor is pretty high. His floor is high. They can even get picked in the second round, but typically it's late second and on, right? Typically it's third round and on, but it can also be late second, depending on if he brings an element, like if he's big and tough and physical, skates well enough, all that's you don't see the skill that maybe at best he could be a third liner, but probably a fourth. It's 50 on that you start looking at those guys usually. Kakanen's been sent back to Laval. Okay. And Monty's day to day, I hear. Pierre, thanks for coming out. Oh, Eric, thank you. Thank you for these streams, love, and thank you for the contribution, Eric. You ask a lot of great questions. I really enjoy having you on here. And we've got 589 people in the middle of the day. I thought this wasn't going to go very long, but you know what? I can go for a little longer. Laced on Sherwood is at Vancouver's asking for a first and a young. Yeah. See, that's the overpay, right? Sell high, sell when they're playing well. And that's what I'm afraid of with him. No way I pay that for Kiefer Sherwood. No way. Especially with what he said to Slav. I know that you can't put too much stock in that, but I wouldn't be upsetting this. This is a tight young group, and I'd be worried about that. How do I feel about? Oh, that's interesting. This is a new Ko Sousa. How do I feel about Hage's skating ability? Personally, I'm not a fan of his straight line form. However, I remain impressed by his crossovers and the speed he generates doing so. Um, Well, I mean, he's a bit of a wide track skater. I guess that's probably what you're getting at. Like his form isn't perfect, but he's a powerful skater. He's very very powerful skater. And I don't personally have issues with his skating. The form's not fantastic, but the results are good, if that makes sense. Very powerful, very speedy. I don't care so much about if you're faster than everybody else. I don't care how you do it. You could be skating backwards, and as long as you're faster than everybody else, I'm not too concerned about the form, if that makes sense. Thanks for the question. Is it too early to consider moving Monte? Del Monte. No, it's not too early. Not saying sign Sherwood to a 5-year deal. No, I know. But could buy time for Florian to bring up. He may not be big, but he's a pest to boot. Well, not for a first and a prospect. Sorry, Vidak. We saw St. Louis aiming Mayu in a trade, which they might regret. I don't know. Mayu looked. Did you notice Mayu making a pile of mistakes last night? He was one of the steadier defenders on the Blues, I thought. He played fine last night. He's already adjusting. I don't think they're going to regret that trade. I really don't. I don't. You just need time with him. But anyway, to what extent professional scouting departments are usually up to date on prospects from other teams? Oh, I'm sure that they scouted Mayu a fair bit before they made that deal. And I'll respectfully disagree that they're going to regret that trade. I don't think they will at all. St. Louis, I can name like 8 forwards under the age of 24 that are like. Did you like Dylan Holloway last night? Did he look better than Bolduc? Snuggerud, who's injured right now, he's a year younger, outpacing Bolduc, right? Dalibor Dvorsky, they love him. He's a good young forward. The kid that played Pekarchik, power forward, love him. I think he's going to be a hell of a Otto Stenberg. He's good. I can keep going here. I can name you 8 wingers, under the age of 25 that St. Louis has either on the big team or in the system who are very promising and very good. So they're not going to regret this deal. I really don't think so. They already have a guy playing in their top 6 on defense after trading from a position of surplus, right? It worked both ways. Canadians had a surplus on defense. They needed a winger. They needed a winger with some size, with some goal-scoring ability that can play physical. So for me, this was a win-win. And I really don't see St. Louis regretting this trade unless Mayu is a complete bust. But there's just too many tools there. And I think the knocks on his decision making and stuff, I really do believe are overblown. And it's only a question of him needing experience, like any young defenseman that only played 100 games in the OHL. It's just repetition, learning from your mistakes, getting used to the size, speed, and the lack of time to make decisions at the NHL level. It took Thomas Harley 200 games in the OHL and 200 games in the minors to figure that out. And look at him now. Mayu's only had 100 games in the OHL and 100 or whatever, 150 in the AHL or whatever it is. So I thought he looked fine last night. You know, he took that penalty because he had to, but it wasn't, his fault that he had to take the penalty. It was, someone else had made a mistake leading up to that. Didn't mind Mayu. He played 15 minutes, no egregious errors. He was pretty solid last night. And I mean, for a kid playing his 9th NHL game, the best is yet to come. It's useful to draft guys whose ceiling is fourth liners because sooner it's easier to sign them. Shouldn't teams only draft top 9 ceilings? Oh, no, I don't agree with that. What do you mean easy to sign them? Like, it's easy to sign them when they become, like, when they're 25, 26, 27, when they're UFAs? No, it's not a bad thing to have. No, I don't necessarily agree with that because, again, when you say fourth liners, it's more you draft guys that are bottom 6 upside because you don't know for sure that a guy who fourth liner won't, maybe become a third liner. Like, it's more you draft a guy bottom 6 or top 6. And I mean, there's the odd guy you think, well, he's probably only going to be a fourth liner, but you don't know that for sure. If he brings elements that depends on the team, right? Like on one team, a guy that's a fourth liner could be a consummate third liner on another, and not necessarily because they're a worse team, just that he's the best fit. They need a big physical presence on their third line. Well, on this team, this guy that's a fourth liner on another team could be a third liner on this team. But I don't agree with just taking, like, third and fourth liners, typically bigger, physical, good two-way players. I think you need to draft those guys too. Like if Florian Jacki, when he was drafted, it wasn't with the thought that, hey, this guy could be a second line player, because there wasn't a team in the league that thought that, right? Or they had taken him. They'd have taken him in the top 2 rounds. His upside was probably fourth line, maybe third line, but that remains his upside. But he brought elements that were attractive to the Canadiens. And in the 4th round too, we're not talking 7th or something like that. Still a fairly high pick, right? But there was no illusions that, oh, well, we're taking Florian Jacki because we think he can be a top 9 guy for sure. The thought was that when you're trying to project lineups, that, hey, maybe this can be a physical presence on our fourth line someday. And I still think that that's the ceiling for him. Maybe he overachieves, his speed gets better, and he's good enough to be a third liner at the NHL level, but it's still his ceiling still projects to be a fourth liner in the NHL if he makes it, I think. How is it that you always catch these draft gems before everyone else trade secret, or do people undervalue the eye test these days? Oh, thanks for the compliment. I don't know. I think like when you say everyone else, you mean like independent scouts because, you know, I mean, it's rare that I rank guys that NHL guys don't like too, that that end up being gems that other people, there aren't that many examples of players that the NHL guys. I mean, there's the odd guy, but not too often. It's more the independent guys that just. I'm lucky that I have those resources. I have friends that are NHL scouts that I talk to regularly, and I get their input, and that helps. Like all those independent lists that had Jake Sanderson outside of the top 10, for instance, leading up to his draft. Well, I knew that NHL guys thought differently. I thought differently too, but I got it confirmed by NHL scouts that, oh, no, this guy's, it's better than Drysdale. And there wasn't an independent scout out there, I don't think, that had him ahead of Drysdale, or at least not too many other than myself. But, I have to give credit. If the NHL scouts that I knew said, no, he's not top 10, I wouldn't have had him as high as I did. So, it's not, I can take some credit for it, but, you know, it was an educated, it's often an educated prediction, right? Um, just like Seneca, I don't know anyone maybe that quite had him top 3 of my friends that are in NHL scouts, but most of them had him top 5, you know. So all these people that jumped on me when I said no, Seneca's top 5, he's top 3 on my list. Um, they maybe didn't have the benefit of being able to verify that with some NHL scouts like I do. So it helps. It helps me. Doesn't make me, any a, a a super scout in any regard. I'm fortunate to have good connections, work hard, back up my bold predictions usually with somebody that's that's on board, and it's all combined into making my draft lists. Um, Frederick Bouchard Long. Hey, happy to discover your stream. Best of luck with it. Well, thank you. And I appreciate you coming on. And why don't you come on more often, and feel free to ask questions. I try to answer everything as best I can, because, you know, everyone's got good ideas, everyone's got good questions. We won't know the results of the Bolduc Mayu deal for years. Oh, frig, yeah. People that, like, I just saw something the other day, have steal Bolduc, and this was the first week, right? I mean, 1 week into the season, and yeah, complete steal. Like, you gotta give it time, especially a young defenseman with very little experience. It takes time. Big young defenseman. Francois, were you part of meeting with all the scouts, Timmins, etc., when preparing for a draft? No, I wasn't part of meetings. So the people that do say too, well, what years were you scouting? 2009, 2010. Oh, well. So you're at fault for taking Louis LeBlanc. Jared Tenorti. Well, no, I didn't have any say in that. I just, I was a part-time scout. Went to games, sent in my reports to Trevor, he probably didn't pass them on to anyone else, or when they were having their meetings, well, Grant said, no, I'm sure it was just for Trevor's benefit, basically. um I had no input in Louis LeBlanc being drafted. I never saw Louis LeBlanc play in his draft years, so you can't blame me for that one. But there are people that, oh well, no wonder you're a former scout. You were part of the staff in 2009, 2010. But yeah, but it was part time, and I had no real input into who they drafted. The only guy that I probably, you know, maybe had a little bit of input into was Dustin Walsh, who was picked in the 6th round. He hadn't been seen that much, and he played for the Kingston Voyageurs, the OJHL. I took a trip down in the OJHL playoffs to see him play in Kingston, and he looked good. I liked what I saw, and I thought, mid-round guy, 6'3" kid. He was one of the top scorers in the league that year. Had some offensive skill. Didn't mind him. So I gave a decent report. And then another, the OHA scout, Ontario scout, went and made a special trip to look at him after that. And they liked him enough to take him 6th round, I think it was. And unfortunately, Walsh injured his back in college, and he had to, kind of like the Carl kid, right? Remember, I think he injured his back, 2nd round pick back in the day. That, I mean, you can't predict that happening, right? So I don't know if Walsh would ever amounted to much or not. We don't know, because he injured his back, and unfortunately it ended his hockey career early. But no, I submitted my scouting reports to Trevor. I was part-time, but I'm telling you, I worked like full-time because I was committed. I wanted to become a full-time scout, and worked hard enough to be paid full-time, but got very much a part-time salary. Didn't get expenses paid. I went, I paid for hotels, I paid for gas. I just got, a few $1,000s at the end of each year, but it was thrill of my life. Wouldn't change it for the world. It was great experience. I got mentored by Trevor. I got to know other NHL scouts. I got some respect. I mean, I can still, former NHL scout, right? It's helped get me where I am today. And, it helped me get known publicly more so than if I had never scouted in the NHL. And my dad was my late father, who died of cancer a dozen years ago. He was proud as a peacock. He was a Habs fan. That's how I got. It's where I got got into cheering for the Habs in the first place, and he was very, very proud of the fact that I got to scout for the Montreal Canadiens for a couple of years. What were you doing before joining the Habs? I was I took journalism. I writer, published newspapers in the Ottawa Valley for 15, 20 years, including a hockey newspaper and a hockey magazine, but always, followed the draft religiously since Guy Lafleur got drafted. Had a Hockey News subscription at 10 years of age, followed the draft, every draft, big time. Went to as many junior games as possible. When the newspaper publishing industry, I could see the writing on the wall with, um, uh, you know, internet taking over, taking over, and the newspaper industry dying. I said, well, I'm not gonna make my fortune in the publishing business. Why don't I see if I can get into scouting? And I always gave my scouting viewpoints in HF boards and FLR, which was a forum locker room. I don't know if any of you were ever part of that small Habs message board community, but I was fortunate enough to move to back to my parents' hometown of Shawville in 2003, was it? And I got to or 13, 2003, yeah, and um, got to know the Murray, Tim Murray, Todd Hardy. They were both nephews of Brian Murray, and got to know Brian. And I'd pick their brains all the time. Got mentored by them, and you know, met Bob Gainey. Oh no, well, no, before that, then um, I was writing a newspaper, a hockey newspaper, publishing, and I met Pierre Gauthier, Brian Murray, Pierre Gauthier, Trevor Timmons, and Bob Gainey in the parking lot at the rookie tournament. And I was walking in with a friend. We were going to the Habs rookie tournament, and I said, "You go ahead." I went back, got up the nerve to introduce myself to them, hand them my hockey newspaper, got Trevor's phone number. Shockingly, I even got Pierre Gauthier's, and apparently that never happens. But I never called him. But I got to, I started talking with Trevor. I started scouting for McKeen's hockey. They contacted me because they saw that I had some pretty good scouting takes, and the publisher of McKeen's got hold of me. I started working for McKeen's. I started publishing, with my publishing background, I started publishing their draft guide. I founded their first ever draft guide. Did as much scouting as I could independently and getting paid a bit from McKeen's. I'd send Trevor all my thoughts. He got his email, started, and he said, "Hey, you're got a pretty good scouting eye. You got me a part-time job with the Habs." That's the background. What are some good indicators of a young goalie that has some promise? Must be difficult when they play for bad teams or high-scoring leagues. Yeah. Well, Eric, I'm not. You're kind of asking the wrong guy when it comes to goaltenders. I'm not. I really. I often defer to others when it comes to that. I can't honestly say that I've ever been able to identify a goalie that others didn't, where, oh, well, that guy's going to be a great NHL goalie. And he was undrafted or any of that stuff. They're the toughest. They're the toughest to rank. And NHL teams know that now too. Most, like, I talk to my scouting friends, don't ask me about goalies. There's a reason why NHL teams now have goalie scouts. They go out, like Vinny Riando, he's the goalie scout for Montreal, and they really heavily rely on his input when it comes to drafting goalies, and so did Trevor back when he was the head guy with the Habs. But yeah, I really like those questions, Eric. Look, it's been 2 hours. I'm going to wrap this up now. Thank you, Eric, for the toonie, and same to Francois. I appreciate you guys contributing. Francois, you're always contributing, so thank you very much. But I'm going to end this now, and thank you, folks. Few you hung in there for the 2 hours, right? The Habs' current prospect pool, how many years of picks could be traded before it's a problem? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I think one more, like, you know, this year, I think they can afford it because they've had a lot of extra multiple picks, but they've also done very well with later picks, like Fowler and Hudson. Well, basically were first round picks, if you want to look at it. Really should have been. That helps, when you get these young guys. That Zerowski, same thing. They're all playing like first round picks, so you can afford to. And they have such a good young under 25 talent that one more, I'd say, like they could afford to give up their first this year and maybe a second, and it's not going to affect them too much because they have just such a good young core, under 25 core on the team and in the system. But I wouldn't I wouldn't go crazy about it. Maybe one more down the road when at a trade deadline, if they're going for it, if they're one of the contenders, another. But I don't like there's some teams that just year after year trading their friggin' first round picks, and you gotta in this era with salary caps, you need ELC contracts to help balance things out. Okay, folks, I could just keep answering questions all day, but I must get going. My voice after 2 straight hours of talking starts to go. Okay, thank you, and appreciate everybody coming on board. See you tomorrow night, I hope, after the game. All right? No, I'm not having another beer, Zaffel. I don't think I can even finish this one. Okay. Tomorrow night after the Tampa game, post-game show, I hope you can all tune in. Thanks for the newcomers. Thanks for asking questions. Don't be shy. If you're new, been listening in, don't be shy to come on here, ask questions. Okay. Have a great day. We will see you tomorrow night.